What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today I'm going to tell you how I was able to play the piano every single day for at least 30 minutes for 1 year. So if you don't know a little bit about me, I used to play saxophone when I was in sixth grade, seventh grade, up until sophomore year of high school. Started playing saxophone. I didn't like having to put it all together every single day, and then the cleaning process for the saxophone is a pain in the ass. So I said, I'm done with this. I'm going to play sports. After I quit playing saxophone high school sophomore year, I didn't start playing the piano until 25. So we're talking a 9 year gap between when I was 16 as a sophomore and when I was 25 playing the piano. A 9 year gap between any kind of practicing any musical instrument, any kind of knowledge with music or anything like that. And I started playing piano again in September of 2023. I was 25, and I played and practiced every single day for at least 30 minutes every single day. September 29th, 2024, September 29th, 2024. That was my official 1 year mark of playing the piano for every single day. Now, as a caveat to this, I did go to Italy for 1 week. So there was a 4 or 5 day period where I did not practice. But I did play on the piano at the Leonardo da Vinci Airport. If any of you have been to Rome or Italy, maybe you flew into the Leonardo da Vinci Airport. I played on that, so that was one day I did it. And then I played before we left the airport at that same piano. So there's maybe four days or so, 3 or 4 days where I didn't play at all because we were sightseeing in Italy. But besides those 3 or 4 days, I played every single day. It didn't matter if I was sick, if I was traveling like that, I would get up early to play. If I had to go somewhere for work, I would get up early to play and at least get that 30 minutes in. And I would literally clock myself on my iPhone. I would set up the timer, I would hit start, and I would play for at least 30 minutes with my structured practice routine. So now with all that out the way, that introduction, I'm here to tell you how you can also be that consistent on the piano in practice as well, so that you can see the same improvements and the same gains that I made when I first started playing. So I got my notes here. First point I want to say is you need to make a schedule. So making a schedule is you need to pick a day or days and times that you are free and that is your time and that you can actually sit down and have the time to practice. Because most people, when I talk to, when they say, what's the biggest problem you have at the piano, it's that they're not consistent. And I say, why aren't you consistent? And they say, because I don't have the time to do it. Okay, maybe, but everybody has at least 10 minutes a day. So this is what I mean by setting your schedule. I did 30 minutes. If you can do 30 minutes, great. Just pick a time, pick a day, and stick with it. So what I did, my practice routine is I would get up before work. So when I have to go into the office, I need to leave my house by 7 a.m. And I like to work out too before that. And when I get home from work, I like to be done with everything. So I would start practicing the piano at 5 a.m. So from 5 a.m. to 5:30, that was my time to practice the piano. And I did not let any distractions come to me. I turned off my notifications. It's also nice being that early practicing because nobody's up. Everybody, if you live with other people, they're sleeping. Even my cat is sleeping at that time. So it's just completely me. I have my headphones on, my digital piano, so I'm not disrupting anybody. I have this office space, so I shut the doors and I just totally lock in for that 30 minutes and get as much effective practice as I possibly can within that 30-minute window. So for you, you need to pick a time. Maybe it's late at night, maybe it's midday, maybe it's early morning. Pick a time that you know you'll be free and that you can be alone, or at least as alone as possible, to turn off all the distractions and get to practicing the way you need to. That's step number one. Of course, you want to pick the days as well. I would say you at least want to practice, let's say 3 days a week for, let's say 20 minutes a day. I would say 3 days a week at a minimum. I would try to do 4 days a week if you can. If you absolutely can't do 4 days a week, at least do 3 and shoot for 20 minutes a day. So 3 days a week, 20 minutes a day at the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum so that you can actually see improvement. Because if you're only practicing 1 or 2 days a week for short time periods, it's going to it's going to be slow. You're not going to improve the way that you want to. So at least 3 days a week, at least 20 minutes. Ideally, you want 4 days a week for at least 20 minutes. I did every day. I did 7 days a week, but you don't have to do that. Once you have your schedule set up, you need to actually stick to it. So this is my point number 2. Once you pick your day and you pick your times and you pick how long you want to practice for your specific days, you need to actually stick to it. And this is a big problem because for most people, because things come up and they make excuses, they don't feel like doing it. You're going to hit a time, let's say you practice for 10 days in a row, that 11th day you practice, you're not going to want to practice because you're going to be tired. It's not going to be as new as it was, and you're just not going to feel like it. It's on those days specifically that you still need to show up and you still need to practice so that you can be consistent with yourself and you can get those gains at the piano the way that you really want to, okay? So again, I talked about this a little bit in the first point, but how can you stick to your schedule? Turn off notifications on your phone, so eliminate distractions. Turn off the notifications. If you have an office space, go in there, shut the doors, put your headphones on. Try to get a time where nobody is needing anything of you. So for me, that was at 5 a.m. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to help my girlfriend with anything. She didn't want to spend time with me because she's sleeping. The pets are sleeping. And I'm just completely alone. And that's exactly what you want. You want to get some kind of environment like that where there's no distractions, nobody else is demanding your time, and you can put that time into playing the piano. Another thing you can do is I have an app that's called the Daily Tracker. So if you can look it up, this is on the iPhone store and the Android store as well, but it's called Daily Tracker. This is an app where you can, just like it sounds, literally track your progress. So maybe I'll share this too at some point, but you can type in how many hours or how many minutes you practice for and on which days, and it will keep track of all this. So if you are on your schedule and you stick to it, once you get past that first month, that second month, you're going to be seeing all this progress that you made. It adds up the total amount of time that you've practiced as well. So you have the total amount of everything. It can break it down by the week, by the month, by the year, by the day. So you can have this all kind of logged and analyzed. If you're kind of a nerd like I am and you want everything tracked, Daily Tracker is a great app to do that with. So that's one suggestion, because once you start building your consistency and you start having days under your belt, you're not going to want to break your streak. That's where the Daily Tracker app helps, because you don't want to break your streak, because it's kind of like a dopamine hit. You want to be putting in logs for every day of your practice session, okay? And you're going to be upset with yourself or mad at yourself if you end up missing a day, because then you have to start all over. It's kind of a psychological trick that you can give your brain just to help you stay on track. Another tip I can give you to stay on track with playing the piano is you should read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic Habits has a lot of good information in it, but one of the good things he says is he talks about the length of time it takes to develop a habit. So this can be a habit that is positive, that is helping you. It can also be a habit that is negative and destroying you. So it's the same amount of time to develop each habit, whether it's positive or negative. So positive habits could be working out, practicing the piano, drinking more water. Negative habits would be drinking alcohol, sleeping in late, and eating shit food. Those are negative habits. Either way, no matter what you do, James Clear says if you do it for 66 days on average, so 66 days in a row on average, that formulates the habit in your mind and in your brain. Once that habit is formed, it becomes extremely hard to break. Again, whether it's a good habit that you formed or a bad habit, it's going to be really hard to break after you hit that 66 day in a row of doing whatever it is that you're doing. So that's why I say practicing every day on the piano is obviously better. Even if it's only for 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, I would really try to go 7 days a week if you can, just to build this consistency, at least for the first 66 days. Once you build that habit, then after that, maybe if you want to go down to 6 days or 5 days, fine. But at least at that point, you've already built the habit of practicing consistently. So again, 66 days to build that habit on average, and you want to stick to your standards as well, stick to your goals, stick to your schedule. Point number 3 is, again, I would try to get it done early, because we know life happens, right? To keep it real, we know that life happens. Things come up, your kids get sick, your pets get sick, your work calls you in, you're on call, and you get taken away from your normal routine. It happens, I know, it's just a part of life. So to combat this, I would try to, again, if you can, to get it done early as possible. Everything that's really important for you, you should try to get done as early as possible. Before anybody's up and before your job or before your business needs you, get it done. That way it's done immediately and you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. So my two things I like to do is playing the piano and working out. I try to do before I go to work. And again, I have to leave by 7 a.m. So I want to work out and play the piano before 7 a.m. so that it's done. I can cross it off my list. Now, if something comes up later, if I get sick, if my pet gets sick, if whatever, there's a storm coming in, we lose power, now I can't practice on my electric piano, it's already done, it doesn't matter. I've already taken care of it. I don't have to worry about it and stress about it when I get home. And I don't have to deal with the extra distractions when I get home as well that come from being human and come from things and people needing us that need our attention. So get it done early. Next point is you want to set realistic goals for your schedule. So this is point number 4. You want to set something that's realistic for you. So don't go into the idea that you're going to practice for 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because chances are, unless you're in music school or unless you are a kid and you don't go to school and you're home all day by yourself, if you're an adult beginner, you probably don't have 3 hours a day to practice the piano every single day. So don't set yourself up for failure by giving yourself this insanely high, lofty goal. I commend you for trying to do it, but if it's insanely high and insanely lofty goal, you're probably not going to hit it, especially when just starting, and that's bad for your psyche. It's bad for your mindset because you're going to start off thinking, damn, I made this goal for myself. Josh on Lazy Star Piano made good sense that I should make goals. I made a goal for myself and I failed. That sucks. I feel bad about myself. You don't want that. Set yourself up for the easy wins. Set yourself up for the consistency. Consistency matters so much more than playing a lot within a 1 day period. Okay. So playing for 2 hours for 1 day a week is not nearly as good as playing for 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week. If you can play for 20 minutes a day, 6 days a week, that is infinitely better than practicing for 1 day a week for 120 minutes or 2 hours, because you want that spaced repetition. You want to hammer in the same concepts over and over again so that your muscle memory can remember what you're doing. Your brain can process this. When you go to sleep that night, it'll process whatever it is that you practice and you can hit it again the next day. That's how learning takes place. That's how learning takes place for piano. It's how it takes place for learning how to box. It's how it takes place for learning how to cook, how to paint, whatever, it doesn't matter. Spaced repetition is how people learn. And again, you want to get in as many days as possible, even if it's for lesser time. So practice for 20 minutes a day over more days versus cramming in 2 hours for 1 day of the week. This is like, to use an analogy, if you've ever been a student, if you've been in college or high school, and maybe you put off studying for the exam for a long time. Let's say you knew about your midterm exam for 3 months and you never studied, but now you're studying the night before and you study for 12 hours straight. So you start at 8 a.m., you start at 8 p.m., and you study all through the night until 8 a.m. for this big exam that you have, and then you take the exam. You can do it that way. That's one way to do it. It's not nearly as good. You're not going to retain the information for nearly as long or understand it as deeply as somebody who studied for 10 minutes a day for 3 months straight. That's just how it works. And piano is the same way. So set a goal that you can realistically attain for the set number of days that you decided. So start small, start with 10 minutes, start with 20 minutes. If you're doing those, you can always up it later on, but you want to make sure you're at least hitting the standard that you make for yourself. Okay. Very, very important. And again, you can use that daily tracker to help keep you motivated. That's one way to do it. You can also just write it down. If you're more of a pen and paper type of person, you just want to write it down or check off a box. Do something physically where you are checking off the days or writing down the times you practice to help keep you on track. So hope that helps. Any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. That's some of the things that I did and that I learned where I could practice the piano every single day for 1 year. Again, excluding those 3 days I was traveling. But besides that, I practiced every single day for a year for at least 30 minutes. You can do this too. You just need to follow those strategies that I just laid out for you. So again, if that helps, let me know, drop a comment. And my name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano, and let's get to practicing.